Hi everybody. So as promised, I'm following up our first Become forum with a video on Q&A. I really want to thank everyone that took the time to join us either in person or live or even watching the video now that it's up on YouTube that you can watch at any time. And anybody that submitted an evaluation form, we really appreciate it. We got so much amazing feedback and requests and great questions. So I'm going to spend some time right now and address as many questions as I can. First of all, just for that evening where there's a COVID uptick in our community, to have our team and then 20 people join us, guests came in and stay for the whole thing. That was really great, and we had a steady group of people watching the live stream, and now I think it's almost 80 views. So that's great. That was our goal, is to increase a sense of community and allow people to gain some skills and connection, community, know they're not alone. So just by those humble numbers for us here in Hall, New York, I think that's a huge success. So thank you all for being part of that. I wanted to share some of the positive comments that we got. One person said they were blown away by the many powerful moments and ideas that were shared. Someone else expressed real gratitude that they could watch it live from home. They felt much safer. There were some comments that it was difficult to hear sometimes with the mask, and when the masks were down, it was much more powerful and easy to hear. And of course, we all know that, but those are the guidelines, and we had to do that. So it's nice that we could kind of do a little bit of no mask, but I'm glad that many people felt safer just viewing from home. Someone else said it was a very balanced coupling of deep and difficult issues with self-care and hope mixed in, and that we were able to cover the topic of suicide from many different angles. And that's exactly what my vision was, and I'm glad that that came through, that we were pendulating between very heavy information and experiences that were shared, and then we'd come back out and don't forget those skills of turning your head. I like the container, being mindful, and again getting outside, doing the bilateral butterfly hug, all those things. Just a little review there. So let's see here. Someone else really liked the connecting with others, and that they thought all the information was amazing. So yay. Here's a question: how do you feel like you're not too much? How to not feel like you're too much? That maybe you share too much and then it pushes people away. Excellent question, and that could be a whole nother forum as well, because where I go with that is boundaries and discerning between emotionally safe people and emotionally unsafe people. And just like I said at the beginning of our forum, that okay, this is public, so let's keep our filter on. Don't share more than you would want anybody to know. So boundaries are a big thing, and we also want to be mindful. We want to have eggs in our basket. We want to be able to share what's going on with other people and yet not burn people out. So that's why I like the basket analogy. We can't just have one or two eggs in our basket. It's great to have a support system, whether it's friends, family, online forums, watching the comments though, to make sure you don't get caught up in some kind of issue online where people are not safe. Having a therapist or some other practitioner, whether it's a body worker or like if you were interested in art or things like that, where you find your people, you find your community. And if you don't just like overuse one person, then I don't think you're gonna be too much. And yeah, that's my answer, brief answer for that one. Good question, though. Let's see. Okay, so Tina said that there are other ways to ask the suicide questions. What are those other ways? And that was actually, we mentioned that Craig Bryan training that came up right around the time we were pulling this together, and it's called Rethinking Suicide, and he has a new book. So I think he's really trying to get people to buy the book as well. And I have not read the book, so there would be a lot of information in that, I'm imagining. But he developed what's called the suicide cognition scale. And instead of, like Tina was saying, these questions are important, but they can at times be off-putting. Where, do you have a plan? You know, do you have weapons in your house? And those are definitely important questions, but maybe not the best conversation starters. And like Taylor was talking about, to have that trust with your therapist is really big. And for on the therapist side to feel I trust that person and have worked with them for a while and know them pretty well. If not, that's not the case, then we've got to be a little more rigid with the questioning. But these, an example of the alternate questions and additional questions, let's say, the world would be better off without me, and then there's 1 through 5, strongly disagree to all the way to strongly agree. And these are conversation starters. No one can help solve my problems. It is unbearable when I get this upset. I am completely unworthy of love. So if we're kind of gauging where the person is at with those kinds of questions, we can get a little bit deeper and understand their experience more. And what I like to do, this is actually very similar to in EMDR. Those would actually be negative cognitions. And if you're doing EMDR therapy, you're going to run into those very quickly, even without a questionnaire. So we had lots of conversations about that at the forum, that people are off put by tons of paperwork and they want the connection. Obviously we would want that, and balancing out, because as a practitioner we do have to get permission to treat and all the policies signed, and doing it in a way though where we're having a conversation and on a more human level. And I know Tina did talk extensively at the end about the importance of being present. So to just feel like you're another number and check off these things, and if you answer wrong you're going to the hospital, well, obviously that's not very helpful. And I think that's what Craig Bryan's training is on. Let's figure out a way, and it sounds like he has, to be more connected with people. And then we're looking for those positive resources again. So in the past, have you ever felt like this before? I can't stand this pain anymore. Have you felt like this in the past? Well, yeah, I do remember feeling that. Where did you feel it? How did it show up in your body? And how did you not die? Like, how did you not get suicidal at that time? How did you get through it? And I mentioned in the training, suicidality is very tunnel vision. If we're helping the person to go, oh yeah, I did. Well, my dog licked my hand. Really? So your dog was right there with you. Say more about that. How did that help you come out of the tunnel vision? Then what happened? Well, then I looked at my dog and I realized how much my dog would miss me, or it just physically got me out of that place. So we're trying to work with someone's resources, the positive ways in the past that they have coped when at this particular time they feel like they can't cope. That's the answer to that question. Let's see. Okay. Here is another question. This person said, well, what if I was raised that to learn at an early age that there is no hope, it's dangerous to hope, and that any kind of faith that I had turned out to be false faith. So bad things kept happening. Complex PTSD, trauma. Because I made the comment in our training, one thing I like to say is don't quit before the miracle happens. So the person's question after talking about that was, is it impossible to start without an ounce of faith? And I don't have all the answers, like we said at the forum, don't have all the answers, but where I go with this is even that question speaks to where the person is at. Is it impossible to start without an ounce of faith? I would reframe, is it possible to start without an ounce of faith? So sometimes that's where therapists are very helpful, because we can pick up on things like that and do what's called a reframe. You're coming from this place of bad things happen, hope is impossible, faith is ridiculous. And if we can frame it from, wait a minute, this has been my narrative my whole life. Let's take a look at what the narrative of my life story is and open up to possibilities. So just the fact that that person came to the forum or observed the forum, I'm not sure because these were anonymous, and showed up with other people and got information and reflected on, hey, you're talking about hope, but I grew up thinking hope is dangerous because I'm only going to be disappointed. That is a miracle, that there's that shift in, I'm not alone, like sitting all by myself in the dark. That person came out of their comfort zone. They cracked open that window of tolerance. We have to start looking at the little miracles, not like some huge biblical miracle that you might have heard about in Sunday school. The day-to-day miracles, and framing them as that is a miracle. And the little kindnesses, the little differences that you can make in someone's life or someone made in yours, those are nothing short of miracles. So it's a reframe. It's understanding things from a different perspective. That's my answer to that. Okay, I had to pause there for a second. Here's a really good question. I want to learn how to feel more at peace during the good times. So how do I do that and make it less like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop? And my answer to that is we could do another forum on that, which is stretching the window of tolerance. If you look back at some of my other YouTube videos, I talk about there's 4 basic positive human emotions and 4 basic negative human emotions. The negative ones, mad, sad, fear, and disappointed. The positive ones, love, joy, pride, and calm. So to me, I understand this question in my therapist brain as this person's window of tolerance for joy is small because of trauma, I betcha. That why bother being happy, because bad stuff is going to happen. So what we would work on is stretching very gently, tolerating joy. And we can pendulate with joy as well. So sometimes joy or, yay, things are good right now, can feel too much, and it can feel scary because, like this person said, the other shoe might drop. Okay, well, let's be over here, notice, not be in tunnel vision, notice that, wow, things are pretty good right now. This is no guarantee of tomorrow or even 10 minutes from now. But you know what? I'm feeling kind of joyful right now. And that means I'm in my window for a minute. Let me enjoy that. It's increased awareness about all of the emotions. I guess that would be the topic of the forum, might be emotional intelligence and how to increase that. And that's just one component of it. That's how I would answer that question. Suggestions for future forums, I've already mentioned some. One is would be on complex PTSD and how to cope with that. Excellent. suggestion, I do have a pretty popular YouTube video on understanding the difference between PTSD and CPTSD. I encourage you to go watch that one if you haven't. And then another person said they would really like us to do one on grief, because they said there's a strong disconnect both in trying to support someone who's grieving and also how to deal with your own. And I want to speak to that for a minute. And I mentioned it at the forum. This time of year, Christmas is at the end of next week. Grief can really bubble up. And in our own community, I know many families are intensely grieving right now. There's been some multiple losses recently. Deaths from COVID, deaths from suicide, other things going on. And in my own immediate family, we have a very close family member who's in ICU right now. And I have another family member that is on palliative care. And in doing my Christmas cards, I can't send as many because the people have died or are in the hospital. And I know they're not capable of getting Christmas cards. So that's grief. And changing our traditions and how do we keep going forward? So that's why I decided to wear these. Last Christmas when I did a video, I wore some of these, and I did it again today because it's serious topics. Grief and loss, suicide, trauma, and yet we have to be able to pendulate to playful, curious, calm, feeling love, feeling proud of our own accomplishments or others' accomplishments. I, for one, am so we can hold both. Like, I can feel the grief in me. It was pretty heavy last night. This morning, too, a bit. And it's possible to hold the grief and at the very same time, like, I'm super proud of the people that helped us put this forum together. Even in the, visiting at the hospital, to we're going to celebrate my daughter who helped with this with the technical support. She just graduated with her associate's degree. So we're going to celebrate pendulating. That's the human experience, and we're allowed and designed to feel all of it. And some of them are big, huge waves, and they get so big, like we talked about, the firefighter parts want to step in and protect us, and then the wave can recede. So I want to leave you again with, don't quit before the miracle happens if you're really struggling. And the miracles can be itty-bitty. Just little snippets of love and kindness. Thanks for your support.